China is a communist system, and that this has very considerable real practical implications for us understanding the possibilities and limits of that system. We have been very dismissive of communist ideology in China. We've said that they're transcended it. They're capitalists now. They're cynical about any communist ideology. They talk about socialism with Chinese characteristics, wink, wink, and they don't really mean it. However, that's also not true. It turns out that there are components to the ideology that remain powerful and that it's very important for us to understand. And so how is it communist and why is this important? Well, it has a Leninist party structure. We have many one-party authoritarianisms where the political party is more or less a sham. It's just a vehicle for a certain personal regime and for certain corruption to flourish within that particular regime. This is something different. This is where the Communist Party is inside every organization of the country, every part of the economy. It's in the school system as well as the bureaucracy. The party is a shadow institution which mirrors every other institution but ensures Communist Party control. So inside the state bureaucracy, there are party officials. Inside the school system, as I said, there are party officials. Inside the military, party officials. In order to be the director of a state-owned factory, in order to be a provincial official, in order to actually achieve any significant career position, even at the university, you need to be approved by the party. This Leninist structure, you can even see in the private economy, where there are Communist Party cells inside privately owned companies. More so now even than just a few years ago, as they revive the Leninist party structure. This is very, very important because it enables a degree of Communist Party control over the country's institutions, social life, and economy, which is very different from a garden variety, single party authoritarianism that doesn't permit other parties to organize or that permits them only within very narrow limits so that they can never threaten the regime. This is much more pervasive and much more powerful than that. This is a very powerful tool for centralization and, as I said, for political, economic, and social control. We have a lot of historical cases now. We have a full picture of the landscape of post-communism across much of Eurasia. And it looks like we can discern general patterns. When you lose a communist regime, we see that the end product, the point that they reach, is a kind of xenophobic, ultra-nationalist, authoritarian, right-wing regime. We see this, for example, in Putin's Russia. We see it throughout Central Asia. We see it in much of Eastern Europe even, Hungary, Poland. We see it in Southeastern Europe with the post-Yugoslav regimes. We see a pattern here, and that pattern is an authoritarian replacement of communism, which has some version of markets and private property. They've given up the communist economics because it's much better for the elites to own the property rather than just to manage it. And we see redistribution among the elites, rampant corruption among the elites. And so we see a pattern that we might see in the case of China as well, should this regime at some point end for whatever reason. If you want to go from communism, a communist regime with a Leninist structure, to Putin, or from that to Orban, or from that to fill in the blank, you have a problem. And the problem is Gorbachev. That's what's in the middle between your current regime in China and hyper-nationalist Chinese authoritarian regime. So the Chinese communist regime has studied this history. They know it at least as well as I do. They teach it at the party school. Xi Jinping speaks about this in public frequently, as do other top officials. This is not something they're going to let happen to themselves. They're not going to let a Gorbachev politically liberalize that system because they know the outcome. The challenge for the United States is China. The spectacular achievements of China in our lifetime, with the second biggest economy in the world, is an incredible achievement. Very, very impressive. And that's not going away. And that is something we will have to confront.